so much, Kathy. Thank you for the introduction. I'd like to say a special thank you to the Mansfield Chamber of Commerce and the Youth Leader of Tomorrow Committee for inviting me to be here tonight. This is such a wonderful event. I'm so excited to be a part of it. It's amazing that it's still around because it has been here for a long time. And I love that the community still supports our youth, the youth, in such a wonderful way. I have to say a special thank you to Dawn for being my point of contact through the process. She has been a wonderful resource for me as I planned to get this engagement for tonight. I truly appreciate her patience and kindness, so thank you so much, Dawn. First of all, I have to say congratulations to all of the students who are here tonight. Your dedication and hard work have clearly been noticed by those around you. Each of you is here because you have gifts and talents which set you apart from your peers. You should be so proud of what you've accomplished so far, and I'm sure this is first of many exciting moments that will be coming your way before graduation this year. And like Kathy, I also have to commend the parents. As a parent, I know that it is not an easy job raising a child, especially in today's world. So whether you're a parent or a grandparent, aunt, uncle, other family member or friend, you should feel just as proud that you're here today because you've played a part in your child's life, a part in them getting here. Because of the love and guidance you've provided them, they're able to be here. So I feel so honored to be a part of this really amazing evening. So when I was invited to speak, I thought a lot about what I wanted to talk about. Leadership is complicated and it has so many different components. And I wasn't really sure what would be interesting to young adults. Should I talk about my personal experiences or maybe share stories about what has helped me professionally throughout my career? What words would be most helpful or interesting and would not really bore, young adults? So then it hit me in the middle of the night. I think I had my answer. I'm going to talk to you about 4 things: The Far Side, The Karate Kid, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Thomas Edison. My 16-year-old son told me that not all of you would know what The Far Side was and that I was dating myself, but you don't really totally need to know that in order to understand what we're talking about. The Far Side is a cartoon created by Gary Larson, and it's not like a comic where there's different pictures. It's one picture with a short caption or something comical about it. It's one of my favorites, and my wonderful friend, Jeanette Kingston, who graduated from Mansfield with me, happened to know I loved it, and in my freshman year at Penn State, in the middle of finals, she sent me a card with the Far Side comic on the outside. It was a man, just a stick figure, his head. He had his covers pulled up to his chin and a look of panic in his eyes. And the caption read, "Rude Awakening number 457. Nobody really cares what your GPA was." Now, Jeanette and I were obsessed with our grades. We used to talk about, and I'm not making this up, when we would get grades, our tests back in high school, we would talk about how A's were beautiful with their sleek lines, how B's were these big, fat, ugly letters, C's were horrific hooks, and we did not talk about anything below that. So that card was really pretty interesting for me to see. And I don't want to panic any parents. I'm not here to tell any of you students that your GPA is not important, because it is. It helps you get into college, it helps you get into grad school, it will help you get internships, it will help you get scholarships, and it may help you get your very first job. But eventually, Gary Larson's right. Nobody really will care about your GPA. I just got a new job a few months ago, and when I had my interview with my boss, she did not once ask me what my grades were in college. She didn't ask, I didn't put it on my resume. There was no discussion about what classes I took. But what she did care about were my leadership qualities and what I had been doing in the past 30 years to develop my leadership skills. So as you take your next steps, you should worry about your GPA because it will help define you and get you certain places. But those leadership qualities, what got you into this room, you need to continue to develop those as well. Because I'm sure there were other students out there at your schools who had similar GPAs or were close. But something you have in you, some characteristic that a coach or a teacher or a guidance counselor saw in you, set you apart from everybody else. And that, whatever that character is, characteristic was about you cannot be measured in a standardized test. And you should always continue to develop those skills. And I'm sure your parents or someone has told you, and I hate to repeat what they said, but you don't know everything yet. So you will need to continue those skills, and that leads me to my next topic, the Karate Kid. So, for those of you who are closer to my age, you may remember the Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio as Danielson, Pat Morita was Mr. Miyagi. Maybe the younger crowd remembers or knows it better by Jaden Smith as Dre, and Jackie Chan as Mr. Han. My generation will remember Wax On, Wax Off. I think the newer version has something with apples. Even if you don't know it, you probably heard about the movie and know it has less to do with karate and more to do with mentorship. So whether you consider a mentor a teacher or a coach or a role model, it's so important to find those people in your life who can help you get to the next level. You're never done learning how to be a leader, and you're best able to refine your skills when you have someone in your corner to help you out. You will learn a lot and develop leadership skills on your own, but sometimes we're too close to see what we really need to do to improve ourselves. And sometimes we need that cheerleader in the corner. Sometimes we need somebody to pick us up when we're at our lowest. And sometimes we need to call somebody who can call us out in a loving way and tell us it's time to make a change. I continue to find mentors throughout my life because I feel as though I've had various ones that have helped me get to each path. They're also just really important because they know more, because they have more life experiences. I'm sure many of you have heard adults say to you, trust me, I know what I'm talking about, I've been there. If you're like one of my sons, you probably roll your eyes a few times when you hear that. But I'm here to say I was literally in your seat about 30 years ago. I was where you were. I was sitting in here with my peers thinking about my future. And although the memory's a little faded, I'm pretty sure I was like some of you thinking, when is that speaker going to stop? I just want to find out if I won the award. Forget it. But I hope that you all understand that it really is important to utilize those sources and those sort of mentors because they are important. Their experiences will help you. And never underestimate the power of having a good person in your corner. Kathy mentioned that my career path has taken, as she was going through what I've done, I have not taken a traditional career path. I'm in finance, and I did not have a degree in finance. But one of the reasons why I've been able to take on different roles and where I've had the opportunities I've had is because I've always had good people in my corner pushing me, challenging me, and also saying, I think you can do this. You should try. So again, I just cannot overemphasize the importance of a mentor. You'll especially want them around when you have challenging times. And life will be challenging, we all know that. Which leads me to my next point, Guardians of the Galaxy, which I bet you were thinking, what does that have to do with leadership? Not all of you may have seen the movie, so I'll give you a brief little plot synopsis. It's basically a bunch of ragtag aliens who are all self-centered, think they know everything, are running from the law, and are forced into a situation where they have to work together to try and save the world from an evil alien. I like sci-fi. The Guardians, they don't really like each other at first. They really butt heads. They totally sabotage the mission because they can't all get on board. They all think that they should be the one. They know everything. They know what's the best. And that happens sometimes when you're in a project, when you go to work with a group, when you're on a team. Not everything is easy. Sometimes you find yourself in the middle of what I like to call a hot mess. And it's times like those where you'll really need to tap into your leadership skills, your communication skills, your ability to read different personalities, how to navigate a group. You're going to get stuck on a project with somebody who's difficult, somebody who doesn't pull their weight, somebody who feels like they know everything. You may have already had this experience. It's hard, and it's not going to happen just once. It'll happen time and time again. In my last job, worked with an extremely negative person. He continually told people they were idiots. He didn't think anybody could do anything right. He always thought he knew best, better than anybody. But he was on the leadership team, even though he didn't always act like a leader. I was on the leadership team with him. It was a small startup company, and small startups, you have to come up with lots of policies and procedures. You have to work a lot together. It was a little bit challenging. It's a lot challenging at times. But I had a decision to make. I could either cave in, get pulled into the negativity, or try and be like Star-Lord, the main character from Guardians of the Galaxy, and figure out how we could work best together as a team. How could we communicate in a way that would allow us to do what was best for the company, do what was best for the employees. Now, I know that's a little bit off in the distance for you, but you'll find the same thing. You'll have to be a Star-Lord sometimes and see how can I get this group to work together, knowing that sometimes being the best leader is not always about shining the most. It's about giving others the opportunity to shine. It's so easy to shine and do well in a situation where it doesn't require much work. It's more difficult to succeed in the challenges, but that's when you're going to have the best time, you're going to feel the best, and will you learn the most. Guardians of the Galaxy is a typical Hollywood movie because in the end, the group of aliens comes together, they defeat the evil person, the world is saved, and they love each other. But life doesn't always work like that. Not everything works out. We have failures, we make mistakes, things feel overwhelming, and we struggle. And that's where Thomas Edison comes in. Most people know Thomas Edison as the inventor of the light bulb, but he also happens to have some really amazing quotes. A really good one that I thought was pertinent to tonight is this: negative results are just what I want. They're just as valuable to me as positive results. I can never find the thing that does the job best until I find the ones that don't. When he said this, he was probably referring to inventions, and I'm sure you've heard many innovators or people who are leading in the field of technology who say their failures were their best thing that ever happened to them because they learned from them. But leadership's the same way. You will learn the most about what you can do as a leader, as a person, when you're challenged. Some of the most difficult times in my life, some of my worst mistakes, both personally and professionally, have helped me to grow the most. There's one that happened way back when I was at Penn State that I wanted to share with you. I wanted so badly to be a resident assistant. I'm not sure if you all know what a resident assistant is. They live on a college floor. They help out. They're the student leader. My dad was an RA. My mom was an RA. I went to school thinking I am definitely going to be an RA. At Penn State back then, I don't know if the process has changed, but there were a lot of steps. You have to interview with students. You have to interview with a staff member. If you got through those interviews, you had to take a class. If you got to the class, you had to get an A or B. If you got the A or B, you had to get ranked, and then only then, if you were in the top of the class, did you become an RA. I did not even get through the first interview round when I tried the first time. And I was devastated. I hadn't run into a lot of failure that's something that I wanted so badly that I hadn't been able to attain. And it really crushed me. But I had wanted it so badly that I decided I had a choice. I could either give up or I could try again. The kicker to this, I forgot to say, is that one of my best friends in college who didn't even have the RA thing on her radar applied, took the class, and got the job. So it was a really, really kind of a humbling moment for me. But I made an appointment with a staff member who interviewed me. I found out why I didn't get through to the next process. And the next year, I did everything in my power to prepare. I got through the interview process. I got the class. I got the A. I got ranked. And I became an RA. And in my senior year, I was a teaching assistant for the RA class. But if I hadn't taken that failure, that thing that made me feel so, for for lack of a better term, icky inside, and decided to let it motivate me, then I wouldn't have ever had that opportunity. And it was such an amazing experience for me to realize that sometimes our worst times can end up being our best times. I've hired people a lot over the years, and one of the things I always like to ask candidates, I want to know what your strengths are, and I want to know what your weaknesses are. And people have no trouble usually rattling off their strengths. They're in an interview, they're trying to impress the employer, so they can tell me 10 things that they do really well. But a lot of people struggle to tell me their weaknesses. And maybe that's because they don't think that it's appropriate to share those things with a potential employee. But I'll be honest, I gravitate towards the ones who can articulate very clearly what their weaknesses are and how they're working on them. I'd much rather have an employer, a leader, who understands that they're not perfect, who understands they have room to grow, and who will be willing to work and change and adapt. Because being adaptable is something that will take you so far in life, and I think when you can understand, I'm not perfect, I make mistakes, I'm going to learn from them, that's a great sign of adaptability. And everybody that I've met in the HR world, because I have a lot of friends who work in HR, all say the same thing. We want young people, we want leaders who are willing to grow and change and be flexible. So, as you take your next step forward, just try and remember, your GPA is important, but it isn't everything. Always be looking for your next Mr. Miyagi or Mr. Han. Be like Star-Lord and work with groups, even when it's hard. And finally, look for opportunities to make mistakes and try and embrace them so you can learn and grow and change. I'm willing to bet if you were to follow that advice, in 30 years, you would be the one up here sharing your thoughts on leadership with a young group of amazing and talented students. Thank you very much.